It's Storm Saga Sunday. Tonight, meteorologist Tony Laubach answers your questions about cars and storm chasing.
Greetings, folks. Meteorologist Tony Laubach. It is Storm Saga Sunday, and as we've been doing for the entire month of December, I am answering your questions regarding my storm chasing career. And today we're going to focus a little bit more on some of the equipment here. We'll take our first question here. This one coming from Juliet, asking, what kind of vehicle do I use? And I have used many vehicles over the course of my career, but it all started with my very first ride and my first of 3 minivans. When I started chasing in the late 90s, I was in this clunky old Caravan, and when it finally went out to pasture, I traded for a much smaller vehicle, but just as stickered. I called this, my Mercury Tracer sedan, the Storm Tracer. So small that in order to fit a passenger into the car, I had to put my laptop desk in and take out that front passenger seat. From there, my second minivan, and honestly my favorite of all my rides, is this one took me all over the country for a half a dozen years and accumulated more miles than any vehicle I've ever had. As you can see, it took me states from Montana, Ohio, Michigan, and took me on some less than favorable roads. This van was incredible and one of my favorites. But after that came my first Subaru, running me through the early 2010s and on some of my most incredible chases. Must thank Ben McMillan for this shot. Me in my Subaru racing toward one of the Pilger tornadoes, one of my more incredible chases here. But my third vehicle, my third minivan, this temporary ride that started off with 20 tornadoes in the first week it was out. That's right, folks, 20 tornadoes this thing saw in its first week. And lastly, we'll bring you to my current ride, my second all-wheel drive Subaru, one whose story continues to build to this day. Our next question from Terry, have you ever gotten lost while storm chasing? And then she preferences it by saying before computer GPS. I love this question because it's assuming I'd get lost more before GPS. Truth be told, I have been lost or missed turns more times in the GPS era than I did back in the early days when we actually read paper maps. I am very good at map reading, and navigation was one of those things I really excelled at. And prior to GPS, you had to plan routes, really pay attention to where you were. GPS, it's so easy to get lazy, and it's technology which often fails you. Map software doesn't update, the hardware can fail, and if you don't know how to read road signs and maps, you get in trouble. But to answer your question simply, yes, I have gotten myself lost a few times over the years, but most of that in recent years with GPS. Our third question today comes from Christopher, asking me, what is my favorite gas station to stop for snacks? This one is an easy one, and everybody in Cakeland will recognize these palm trees from the Oasis in Cakeland, right in Colby, one of my favorite places. It's been a favorite place of mine for many years. We used to gather here all the time, and coming from Colorado for so long, this was just a prime stopping point. It was always a good stop to get gas, and of course, you can't argue with the food quality, the food selection there, and the palm trees. Always one of my favorite things to see, especially in the winter because it looks so out of place, but in the winter, the Oasis is one of my favorite places, and the only place in Northwest Kansas for me to get a mocha. Thanks so much for asking the questions. Keep them coming. We still got a couple more weeks in December for Storm Saga Sunday to answer your questions. Meanwhile, we continue to watch a very quiet Christmas coming up here, and hopefully it'll stay that way for y'all in Cakeland. Reporting from the studio, meteorologist Tony Laubach, Cake News on your side.